Alice is resting under a tree with her cat. She's bored because nothing interesting ever happens to her. Suddenly, she sees the strangest thing, a talking rabbit with a watch.
I'm late for a very important date.
He keeps repeating. He runs past Alice and then into a hole in the ground. Alice jumps inside the hole and arrives at a small door. Through the keyhole, she sees the rabbit in a beautiful garden. But she is too big to fit through the door, and she starts to cry. As she cries, she becomes smaller and smaller until she ends up in a river of tears. Alice swims to the door to the garden, and she meets a mouse and a dodo bird also swimming towards the door. They finally land in the beautiful garden. The mouse and the dodo bird say goodbye and disappear. Alice sees the white rabbit and follows him inside his house. She drinks water from a bottle and grows as tall as a tree. The rabbit gives Alice a piece of cake that makes her small again. The rabbit runs off to the garden again, and Alice runs after him. As she runs through the flowers and the trees, she sees an enormous mushroom. Sitting on the top of the mushroom, she sees a rather large blue caterpillar. The caterpillar looks at Alice and asks,
Who are you? Where are you going?
Alice tells the caterpillar her name and asks about the white rabbit. She continues walking down the path and suddenly sees a huge cat with a grin on his face. Alice inquires about the white rabbit, and the grinning cat tells Alice about a tea party. Everyone is at the Mad Hatter's tea party, he says. Alice arrives at the party, and she meets the Mad Hatter and the March Hare. They both wear large hats. The Hatter asks Alice why she does not wear a hat. Alice decides it's time to go because she has no hat. Alice arrives back at the beautiful garden. 3 cards are painting the roses red. Why are you painting the roses red? Asks Alice.
The Queen hates white roses. We have to paint them red, or she will chop off our heads.
Alice hears loud trumpet sounds and sees the Queen entering the garden. The Queen looks very angry and shouts, "Off with her head!" Alice is about to answer the Queen, but she sees the white rabbit running towards her.
Wait!
Shouts Alice.
Where are you going?
The rabbit runs towards a hole in the ground, and Alice follows. She begins to fall and fall and fall. Alice wakes up under a tree next to her cat. Alice shakes her head and says, "What an exciting adventure! It was all a dream." A long time ago, there lived a man called Geppetto. He was old and lived by himself. He had no family of his own. Geppetto was a carpenter. He loved to make things out of wood. One day, Geppetto decided to make a puppet out of wood. He said, "I will make a little boy. I will call him Pinocchio." First, Geppetto made some wooden legs. Then he made some arms. After that, he made the body and he added hands and feet. Finally, he made a little boy's head. Geppetto made Pinocchio's eyes, mouth, and nose. Then he made his ears. Geppetto worked all day and all night on his wooden puppet. He said to himself, "I wish Pinocchio were a real boy." A fairy heard Geppetto's wish. She decided to grant his wish and make the wooden puppet come to life. She said to Pinocchio, "You must promise to be a good and honest boy." The next day, Geppetto was very happy to hear Pinocchio talk. He loved his wooden son very much. Geppetto smiled. "Now you can go to school with all the other little boys." At school, Pinocchio saw that all the other children had real arms and legs. They were not made of wood. He was different. Pinocchio didn't like school. He didn't like doing his homework. His teacher asked, "Where is your homework, Pinocchio?" He lied. "A whale ate it." Every time he lied, his nose grew longer. Pinocchio didn't like that he was different from the other boys. One day, he was angry and pushed another boy over. His teacher asked, "Did you push him over, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio lied. "It wasn't me." Every time he lied, his nose grew longer. One day, Pinocchio decided to hide from his teacher. He hid inside a big toy box, but he couldn't get back out. He shouted, "Somebody help me!" The fairy appeared. "Why are you hiding, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio started to lie. His wooden nose grew longer and longer. His nose grew as long as a tree branch. The fairy said, "Why are you lying?" Pinocchio cried, "I'm sorry. I promise to never lie again." The fairy smiled. "You can see a lie as easy as you can see the nose on your face." The fairy decided to help Pinocchio one last time. She set him free. Pinocchio came out of the toy box. His teacher asked, "Why were you hiding in the toy box, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio told the truth. "I don't like being different." The teacher smiled and said, "We are all different from each other. That is what makes the world an interesting place to live." Pinocchio decided that it wasn't so bad being different. He started to play with the other children. Pinocchio went home to Geppetto. Pinocchio told Geppetto about his new friends at school. The fairy saw how Pinocchio had changed. She decided to turn him into a real boy. Pinocchio and Geppetto lived happily ever after.